few minutes for all of our guests to come in. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining in today. We're coming from all parts of the globe, not just the folks that are attending. Little family office insights. Housekeeping on Zoom. We're all pretty much Zoom accustomed at this point, but you're most welcome, and we encourage you at any point along the way to either click on the Q&A button or the chat box and ask questions, and we'll get to them right away or shortly thereafter. And I'm going to send a note saying hello, and if somebody doesn't mind responding, and so we acknowledge that we're actually broadcasting here today, because even though we trust the technology, we don't trust it that much. So if somebody doesn't mind saying hello back, that would be awesome. I have a unique and full disclosure interest in, and I want everybody to know that I have an interest in this company, and I'm really invested in their success. And so we've been toiling away and for a while, and they presented when we actually could do physical presentations in New York City some time ago. They came and visited us. Some of you might remember Flype, and they've had a fair amount of progress. In fact, I just got a nice update about what's happening with them, and you'll be hearing it as well. So we're super excited for them. It's interesting to see the impact of coronavirus on all kinds of businesses, and this one is not any different in that it has some impact, but in many ways it as things open up, it's very likely to even be a better business model based on what we've seen in terms of people's proclivities and their intentions on traveling and the way things are delivered and supply chain. I also want to fully disclose that at some point in April, I think it was, I was to be a judge at a Shark Tank type event for the Walton Family Foundation through some really good friends of mine, Rosemary and Cody, who were doing a supply chain contest, like a Shark Tank type contest. And while we didn't actually go to Arkansas, which was our intention, and have a bunch of folks present, it did happen, and you are blessed and honored to be in the presence of the winner. So Flype was the winner of that contest. And so I want to give a shout out to Rosemary and Cody for that. And I'm not sure they'll be on the line, but this will be recorded, so it'll be permanently as a matter of record that I'm thanking them on behalf of Flype as well. And we will be doing that again, by the way. Not sure when or where it will be, but as you might guess, the Walton Family Foundation, being very close to the biggest grocery store, department store chain in the world, has an interest in supply chain, and so they've been keen on looking at innovation in terms of that sort of thing as a way to incubate companies. So they also, as a matter of record, have a keen interest in using designers and artists as a way to enhance the potential success of entrepreneurs in their companies, which is an interesting play because Alice Walton is keen on art as well. So anyway, with that, I'm going to introduce you to our friends Joseph and Danny, and Joseph is going to take it over and do some intros, and then we'll get into the presentation. Thank you all for being here today. It's super nice for you to dial in, and as always, we're grateful for your participation. We have a little commercial before I do that. We have 4 webinars this week, and we've started a Luminary series where we're introducing people who are doing cool things in the world. I don't want to suggest that I'm Charlie Rose, but on any level, but we're doing some interviews of interesting people. We had 3 ex-CIA operatives on our last one. We have a fellow that wrote the Moneyball Medicine book. And it's super interesting guy. And we also have Scaramucci, our dear friend Anthony Scaramucci, coming up on Thursday. So please dial in. There's a Family Office Hub, which has all our events, and you can find that on familyofficeinsights.com. So that's enough for the commercial. Joseph, Danny, welcome.
Thank you very much, Arthur. I mean, it's a great pleasure to be here and to present to you guys today on this webinar. And thank you very much again, Arthur, for hosting us. We are honored and humbled to be a part of your webinars. My name is Joseph, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Flype. A little bit about me, who I am as a person. I'd like to introduce that first before jumping into business and what Flype is. But about my background, I was born and raised in central Baghdad in Iraq many years ago to an entrepreneurial family. My father and grandfather used to be non-entrepreneurs in the city. We used to work with imports and exports of construction tools and materials. Then when we went into real estate after that. And growing up, I learned a lot from them. I followed their path, and I was their little pupil, following them to their work, learning a lot from them day to day, and growing up to be an entrepreneur myself. In 2008, we moved to Sweden, where I currently reside, and I've been living here since then. And since that time, I've built 3 companies in total, Flype being the third. And the previous company, Global Computers, was actually built not here in Sweden. It was built in Osaka, Japan, where I lived and studied and worked for a while. And I co-founded that company with my amazing dear friend, Danny, who's with us today and who's currently the co-founder and CTO of Flype. And we've been friends, Dan and I, for about 10 years now, right, Danny?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have the joy and the honor to be working alongside him every single day. He's one of the brightest developers, one of the brightest CTOs I've worked with in my life. I'll let you then introduce yourself before moving forward here.
Thank you, Yusuf. Yeah, my name is Danny, as Yusuf mentioned, and I'm the co-founder and CTO of Flype. So I come also from Iraq, Baghdad, but we, as Yusuf mentioned, we didn't know each other there. We actually met here in Sweden. And I come from an engineering family, so everybody was an engineer in my family, my grandfather, my dad. And in 2006, we moved to Sweden. And as Yusuf mentioned, we have started 2 companies together. I graduated as a software engineer, also from KTH here in Sweden. I worked as a consultant a while, but the first company, as Yusuf mentioned, was Global. It was in the computer business, and now we are working on Flype, the most exciting project yet, I think. I will be leaving the word to Yusuf here, so he can jump on to start with Flype and how amazing it is.
Thank you, Danny. And Danny's introductions are usually very, very humble. He's one of the brightest individuals I've worked with. He left Microsoft. He left a job at Microsoft as a senior software developer to join me and build Flype together with me, and I'm very happy for that. I'll start sharing my screen here. Let's see. To begin with the presentation. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, it seems to be.
Yep, sorry about that. Yep.
Yeah, no problem. Great, excellent. So yeah, Flype. Basically, here, imagine that you're at an online store and you're buying something online and you're just hovering the cursor over the checkout button. And just before you click that, you see that the fastest delivery option available is 4 business days. And you're like, screw it. I'll just go buy it off Amazon and have it delivered to me tomorrow. 1 out of 4 customers today are abandoning their shopping cart online because their retailer cannot offer them a next-day delivery alternative. This is the true reason behind the infamous retail apocalypse. As we all know, customers today are expecting much better and much faster services. We want things yesterday. And if you look at the delivery industry specifically, you see that 46% of delivery today is express. And the number is just increasing. As I mentioned earlier, 25% of customers today are abandoning their shopping cart online if express delivery is not an option. And retailers who are adding a next day delivery alternative are seeing a 10% increase in their revenue, of course, from the areas where they can deliver. And that's why we're seeing a lot of retailers that are spending billions of dollars in research and development just to introduce a next day delivery alternative to a few more areas. It's that important. However, it's not that easy. It's actually quite difficult because usually adding next day delivery to an area involves huge investments in warehouses, new warehouses, in infrastructure. But really, when you think about it, retailers already have this infrastructure built in. They just cannot use it. They have it built in the form of stores, tens of stores that they have in each state that they operate in. But the problem is that when you buy something online, your parcel cannot be shipped from the store. It has to be shipped from a distribution center because, of course, no delivery provider today does that. The DHL will not park their truck outside of a ritual store and load items from the store and ship it. They don't do that. It has to go from a distribution center. It's a centralized delivery solution. And because of this centralization, it's a quite ineffective one. And that's where Flype comes in. Flype is a platform that enables retailers to ship parcels from their individual stores to customers in other cities and in other states with daily travelers, offering their customers a premium same or next day delivery that is personal with real-time tracking at a competitive price. And so it's basically a difference between the traditional delivery and the modern one, the one that Flype can offer today. The traditional being where express is defined as 1 to 3 business days, where express is a delivery that is significantly harmful for the environment with a lot of emissions, and where express does not have it has an inadequate tracking solution that is based on checkpoints that is far from accurate many times. And where Flype comes in, Flype offers a modern delivery where express is next day. It is next day guaranteed. It's not between 1 to 3 days. It's a delivery with real-time tracking where you can see your parcel on the map in real time throughout the entire delivery process. It's an environmentally friendly delivery, a one where you have direct contact with the person that is bringing the parcel to you via chat system on the app. It's a truly decentralized service that makes the retailers' logistics much more effective, enabling them to utilize their current resources that they have instead of investing millions of dollars in new ones. And most importantly, for many of our retailers who are interested in using us, in using our service, is that it's a flexible service, that it comes with a great flexibility, enabling customers to chat with the traveler, change the delivery time and place slightly, and it's a punctual service. We do not tell you you're going to receive your parcel between 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. As other companies do. We tell you you're going to get it at 6 p.m. sharp, and you'll get it at 6 p.m. sharp.
So, Yusuf, I don't want to interrupt your flow here, but I think it might be instructive for some that haven't seen this before or looked deeply into exactly your model, but it might be a good idea to give an example of what exactly happens, meaning that someone picks it up, they get on a plane, they deliver it. I think it's a good overall frame out of what happens.
That was exactly what I was going to just jump into right now. So it all starts with the customer, of course. Let's say there's a customer in LA, in California, who's buying something out of rituals online. And at checkout, of course, they see different delivery options. They see DHL between 1 to 3 days, FedEx 1 to 3 days, and Flype tomorrow, where Flype costs exactly as much as DHL and FedEx. We do not charge more. Naturally, the customer chooses the faster option. They choose Flype, next day delivery, and they check out, and that's it. Now, of course, Flype will only appear as a delivery option if we can guarantee a next day delivery to the customer. If we have travelers who are registered on the platform, who are traveling to where the customer is and can deliver to the customer. Otherwise, we will not appear as an option. And that's the customer's part. And let's say that here's the traveler's part. So Alice is a registered and verified traveler on Flype. She's traveling tomorrow from New York to LA, and she can deliver parcels to the customer. She opens the Flype app, she registers a new trip from New York to LA, and she sets in her preferences. And just when she's done with that, Alice gets assigned 5 parcels to pick up from the Ritual store just down the street from her apartment. She goes into the store. She collects the item via a simple collect in store solution. It's basically like she's shopping something in the store. She's buying in the store. So she sees exactly what the item is. She's collecting the item in a Ritual store bag, and she takes the item with her, packs it in her bag, take her with her to LA, and finally in LA she drops off the item at one of our many drop-off locations. The drop-off locations here being last mile delivery providers that Flype will collaborate with. Basically, this is how the process would work. And so when we look at the cost of next day delivery, the market cost for next day delivery today it varies between $15 to $25 per parcel. Now, this cost is usually divided between the customer and the retailer, where the customer pays a part of it at checkout, and the retailer pays another part in the back end to the delivery provider. So in the end, it varies what the delivery providers get is between $15 to $25. So on average, it's $20 per most parcels. And that's what the traveler will get. The traveler initially gets 20 parcels, as we see here. $20 per parcel. Flype then takes 15% cut out of that, which is basically our business model. Then our last mile delivery partner gets about $4, which is the last mile standard for such deliveries today. And the traveler ends up with $13 per parcel. So basically, if you deliver with you about 5 parcels, that's $75 in profit. That makes a huge difference in travel costs for many people. Trust and security. This is an important part that we get asked about. Basically, when a new traveler registers on the platform, first they have to go through a KYC process where they submit their credentials to Flype and they get verified by Flype. And of course, the traveler then starts with with a cap on the value of parcels that the traveler can deliver with him. And this cap increases the more the traveler, the more experience the traveler gains, the more parcels they deliver, the higher this cap will get. So they build their digital identity, and this digital identity gets built through a review and rating system where the customers would rate the delivery, would rate the Flypers. And of course, all parcels on Flype are insured by an insurance system. All deliveries are insured. Another point that I have to mention here that we get asked about sometimes is airport security and things like that. Do you know the content of the item? Right? You get asked that in the airports. And we built our entire delivery process so that it would be fully secure, of course. Because if we recall, when Alice goes into the store and picks up the item, she's not picking up a box, a carton box that is enclosed with unknown content. No, she's picking up a Prada perfume that she sees in front of her. And she picks it up in the rituals bag, just like she bought something at rituals. And here comes another very important part when it comes to the environment. We want to eliminate the use of the carton boxes in our model, in our part of the delivery process, because it's something that will save, of course, millions of trees are being used to build these carton boxes every year. And that's something that we want to eliminate from our end. That's security. Now, another question that we get asked is, so will travelers deliver? Are travelers willing to go into a store, pick up a few parcels, drop them off at their city of destination, and get profit out of it? And the answer here is that this is already a proven concept. Of course, Flype has done its own studies and its own market test where we delivered our own parcels in tests that we did internationally. But also, two examples that I want to mention here are Grabber and Hitchhiker, who are two startups that are doing something that is very similar to Flype, but quite different as well. This is how they work. Let's say that you're a customer in New York and you want to buy something from California. What you do is that you log into Grabber, you post an ad requesting that a traveler that is coming from California to go to the store, buy the item for you, and bring it to you in New York. You have to wait until a traveler from California sees your ad and accepts it. Now, the traveler accepts your ad, goes to the store, buys the item, and brings it to you. And so if the traveler here wants to deliver more than one item, if I want to deliver 5 parcels to gain more income from California to New York, I have to go to 5 different stores, 5 different pickup locations that could be anywhere scattered in LA. There's no matching algorithm that matches them with the nearest store or things like that. And deliver them in New York to 5 different drop-off locations. Despite this complexity, despite this difficulty, Grabber have been able to reach over 500,000 registered travelers delivering with them. This is all statistics. This is from 2018. We don't have fresh statistics. And Hitchhiker, they've been only operating for about a year and a half. They were able to, they today have over 250,000 registered travelers delivering with them. We spoke with both of these companies, and what they told us is that one thing that they were very hesitant about is the willingness of the travelers. And when they were up and running, this showed up to be that it should have been the least of their concerns. Basically, they proved the willingness of travelers to deliver and the huge demand as well from the traveler's side. So how are we going to build this supply of travelers? How are we going to acquire them? We built a marketing strategy that is based on 3 pillars. The first is influence-based marketing strategy that is focused on content creation. I have previous experience within this market, and it's quite an effective one as well if it's used correctly. Basically, what we're going to do is that we're going to collaborate directly with content creators on YouTube, Instagram, and other social media platforms where they would be creating content, creating videos, for example, traveling from a city to another, delivering parcels with Flype, and showcasing to the hundreds of thousands of followers that view their content how it works to deliver with Flype and how they could profit by doing so. The second part is leveraging on retailers' customers' ledgers. When we collaborate with a retailer, of course, they'd be sending emails to their entire customer base, telling them about this new delivery option that they have now at checkout. And that's a direct access to a lot of customers via to a lot of Flypers and via one customer. The third, and what I view as one of the most exciting parts actually, is collaborating with booking sites and airlines. This is how it's going to work. Basically, we're already in contact with a few airlines and booking sites as well, and they're very keen to collaborate with us as soon as we launch. Basically, imagine that you're booking something via Booking.com or booking something on Skyscanner. You're booking a trip, and a trip from New York to Arkansas is I don't know, how much does a trip cost from New York to Arkansas? Let's say it's $100. That should be
more like 500, but that's okay.
Oh, really? We have it good here in Europe then.
It depends on how you want to fly. I'm giving you trouble. Yes. No. So let's just say it's $200.
All right, $200. So let's say, yeah. So you see the trip from New York to Arkansas. It's $200, and just on the left, you see an ad saying, "Hey, deliver parcels with Flype," and you can slash that cost by half. And you click on that, and it will direct you to Flype and encourage you to deliver items with Flype. Now, what this will do is that it'll give us a direct access to the main source of travelers, which is amazing. And of course, it opens a lot of doors for future projects within collaboration that we'd be able, within tourism, that we'd be able to do. Now, we're already in talks with a few booking sites and airlines as well. And what we're discussing is exclusive deals, of course. Moving forward, where the development of our platform is going now at full speed. These are some screenshots out of the current app that is being developed that the travelers will be using, and we will be ready for release by the end of September. Some accomplishments. Well, Danny and I have been working on this project, preparing for it for about 2 years now. We started out 2 years ago out of pure frustration with the current delivery providers wanting to change things in this industry, because it's certainly an industry that is in need for disruption. Within these 2 years, we've done a lot of research and development. We've done research and development with airlines, with airports, with retailers, and many other actors, and built this model that we have today. This model that, well, first of all, we were proud and humbled to win the Top Idea Award at Sweden's largest startup competition, Venture Cup, for Flype. This is the picture, the first one up to the right, from the day where we won the award. And of course, as Arthur mentioned in the beginning, we were humbled to be taken in as a part of the Walton Family Foundation's Walton Family Foundation funded incubator program called the Scale Challenge, which is an incubator that is aimed at logistics startups that are disrupting an age-old industry and benefiting retailers immensely. And also, as Arthur mentioned, we were very honored and humbled to be chosen as winners of the program by the end of March this year. We were supposed to fly to Northwest Arkansas to present to the investors there in the summit, but of course, because of the current circumstances, this have been delayed until September, if I recall correctly, where we'll be flying there to present for the Walton Family Foundation and their network of investors who are interested in backing the winners. And of course, Flype has received great interest from many retailers who want to use our platform already before we have launched. And today, we have retailers that are guaranteeing us a demand of over 1,000 parcels per day to be shipped with Flypers.
Before you go on, Yusuf, if it's okay,
Yeah.
I have the benefit of knowing some of the history. You've started one way and then you adjusted, like many companies, but
Yeah.
you had a pilot that demonstrated that the people are willing to do what you're asking them to do. So one of the things that I'm sure people are thinking about is, what is the type of traveler that's willing to do this? And can you talk about how you actually got people to travel from inside Europe there and demonstrate the model works? And then give an idea what you expect that type of traveler to get in terms of a fee to offset. I know you did the numbers, but I mean, if someone does 2 or 3 or 4 packages, then they can offset their ticket. So I think a good example of what you've done, what it turns into revenue for the traveler, and it might be helpful at this point, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So exactly as Arthur mentioned, before building a team, we wanted to see if this model would actually work. Is there an interest from travelers to deliver using this model? So Dan and I set out to do a market test before we even had a platform. We did everything manually here in Stockholm. So basically what we did is that we went to the streets of Stockholm, poured free coffee to people to speak with them and do a market test and see if there are people who are willing to do such to deliver with such a service, and basically to match manually, which was very difficult, people who are sending parcels and travelers who are willing to ship parcels for a compensation. And what we found in that study is that initially it was a bit difficult to find travelers because we didn't really know who our target group is, until one day where we decided to go to a university. We started with Stockholm's University and we started speaking with students, and we were surprised by the huge demand and the positive response that we got. We had a 67% conversion rate from the people who were speaking with and who were traveling, who actually delivered parcels. 67%. Now, of course, we'll not see a 67% conversion rate. I hope we do when we launch a platform, but because this was a manual test, it's a bit different. But it was a result that we never expected. That opened our eyes to a lot of things. And we actually did a test where we delivered 500 parcels from Stockholm to 27 cities around the world. Even to New York, to California. We had a few parcels going to Australia, actually, and of course a lot of European countries. And the results were amazing. The students were coming back very satisfied, very happy with the income that they got, asking us if we have more parcels for them to deliver. Getting calls, we're like, hey guys, I'm traveling to this place next month. I can ship, I can take parcels with me. Do you have stuff that you want to send with me? That's when we understood the true potential of Flype, actually, and that, of course, that test catalyzed everything. Yeah, so this was the test that we did. Yeah,
that's perfect, helpful. Yep. Have you talked about you know how Airbnb has offers experiences? So if you live in a city and you want to give tours to the museums in New York City, that's a thing you can buy through Airbnb. Is Airbnb a potential partner on the travel part of it as well?
Well, Arthur, so there's a lot of potential on the tourism side. There's a lot actually that we can do. Both with companies such as Airbnb when it comes to experiences and things like that. Of course, I mean, there are a lot of things that we could do together in terms of collaborations, and also collaborations with other tourism companies within tourism, booking sites, airlines, car dealerships. I mean, the expansion opportunity there is quite wide. There's a lot that we can do, but these are things that we're not focusing on right now. Our main focus in the beginning is delivery, because we have to focus on one thing. If we focus on 5 different things at the same time, the entire company would collapse. But yeah, there's a lot of potential in terms of expansion within tourism.
And the other thing that I think people are thinking about is there when you talked about earlier that you do have retailers ready and willing to supply, and so in a business like this, you want to have demand on both sides. So is you're feeling that based on what you know so far, that you have adequate number of retailers that want to use the service, and you can fulfill that, at least to scale it enough to demonstrate, real revenue. Are you feeling you have enough people to deliver parcels as well? Independent of the feedback from Hitchhiker, for example, or including that feedback?
Yeah, and that's a very good question. So Flype has not started recruiting travelers yet. We will start doing that towards when we are getting closer to our release. When it comes to the retailer side, there's a lot of interest, and it's very understandable why that is, because Flype solves a huge pain in the retail industry. This is something that we've heard over and over again from a lot of retailers. We solve a huge pain for them and offer a lot that we offer basically a delivery that for the first time is actually an international or like a long distance delivery that lives up to customers' expectations today. And when it comes to travelers, we've done our market research. We have done a test proving the great demand. There are other companies that have proven the demand as well. We ourselves have not started recruiting travelers yet. We'll do that when we are getting closer to our release.
Great. We actually have a question, if you don't mind answering it.
Yeah.
If someone places an order online, how does the local retailer get the request and decide whether they have the supply in their local store and wants to sell it? I think that, I don't mean to answer it for you, but they're buying it from the local retailer, and the retailer, then the consumer has a choice of using Flype as a way to deliver it. So it's not that they don't know they have it, right?
Yeah, so when a customer is checking out online, he's basically buying something online. He does not know from which local store it's going to be sent. Let's take, for example, Rituals. Rituals is interested, for example, it's one of the companies that are interested.
Hold on, Joseph. Hold on one second. I think the confusion is, and I may be wrong, Dinesh, is that he may be thinking that the order is on your app. The order is not on your app.
No.
The order is on the retailer's app.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. So, this entire process is completely automated. The customer buys something, the request gets sent to the retailer's TA. They use systems called TA. These are the systems that manages the different delivery providers that deliver for this retailer. So the TA presents the delivery alternatives at checkout, and when the customer chooses Flype, the request is sent through the TA to the store, and of course to our app as well, where we get a request to pick up, where our traveler, in this case, gets a request to pick up a specific parcel from a specific store. And of course, the inventory and everything that is related to the inventory, the distance between the traveler and the store, to match it with the traveler's preferences and things like that, they're all automated via algorithms that run in the backend.
So to oversimplify it, when I buy something from my favorite store in New York City, that's a drugstore, but they have their own products. I can buy them on Amazon, or I can buy them from the store. The reason why I buy them from Amazon is because I get them tomorrow, just like what you said at the beginning of this discussion. If I buy them from the retailer, the user experience, forget about the user experience, it's not equal. But if I had a choice from that retailer to check Flype as one of the options of delivery, that's where the matching goes on. And that's where you're going to embed yourself, is on that retailer's site for checkout, correct?
Yeah, correct. We do have the possibility, of course, to work with Amazon in the future and to deliver for companies for Amazon and for companies that sells things via Amazon too.
We have one more question, if you don't mind, Joseph. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Maybe others, but here's one from Jackie. Said, if she understood it correctly, this can involve international travel. How does Flype or retailer manage duties, taxes, where applicable, as they would need to be declared by the traveler if they are over the limits, etc.?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. Customs. Basically, this is something that we do not have to deal with at all. The reason is that Flype will only operate within the EU at start, where there's basically no customs between these countries, the EU countries. And we'll also be operating within the US. And there are no customs between the US states. If you buy something from California, you're in New York, it gets shipped to you, you don't pay import taxes or things like that. So we avoid customs by targeting the EU and the US in the beginning.
So we have one more question. That's so only Flype deliveries within the ecosystems where it doesn't require customs issues. Okay, so that makes sense for now. So we have another question. What happens if a customer gets offered a guaranteed next day option through Flype, and then the traveler who was going to pick it up changes their mind and gets sick and cancels the trip? What happens, and how do you then quickly find someone else to make sure the guaranteed delivery still happens?
Yes,
I know you thought about all this.
Yep, and that's a great question. That's an amazing question. So there are a lot of things that could go wrong in a delivery. One of them is the traveler cancels his trip. The airlines have canceled their flight, things like that. And so basically what happens in this case is that the traveler goes in and reports this delay or the cancellation via the app. When that gets reported, the system automatically matches this delivery with another Flyper that can deliver it at the same time. If that is not possible, which may happen, but is also, so one thing here that is important that I need to say is that when we match travelers with a certain parcel, we do not match it if we have one traveler that is going to a place and that can deliver. We only match it, we only appear to the customer as an option if we have a few travelers that can deliver, to have backups in case such a thing happens. Now, if the initial delivery failed and all the backups failed as well, we will direct our delivery to one of our delivery providers that we work with, and we'll ship it via their system instead. That's like the worst case scenario that can happen. And of course, the delivery is insured, and Flype will be paying for the express delivery.
Yeah. So this question from Jackie again is one that I initially asked you. She's asking, how do you manage the GDPR issues, the privacy issues, especially in the European Union, whereby we have some rules here reflecting similar requirements, but whereby the traveler would need to delete or remove individual information. What information does the traveler have on the end user? Yeah, and actually, I'd love for Danny. Danny, could you jump in and explain about the hashing and everything? I think you're better explaining that than I am.
Yeah, of course. So it's exactly like when you go to Facebook, for example, or the other big platforms. You would be able to report to Flype that you want to delete certain information about yourself, that you want to leave the platform, and we will do it manually and get back to you within 30 days. And that's according to GDPR. We're following the GDPR compliance rules, of course.
I think there's more to that question, right? So I pick up a package, I get on a plane, Am I delivering it to the front door of that person?
That's a good question as well. Initially, yes. Initially, when we're going to open up our platform for the public beta, the travelers will be doing last mile. But this is something that we are going to move away from as soon as the public beta ends. And so what will happen later, which is the most important part, is that the traveler would drop off the parcels at a drop-off point of, let's say, Budbee or Instabox. It's last mile delivery providers that are excellent companies that we have here in Europe, and they would take the last mile and deliver it to the customer. And when it comes to GDPR, of course, in every part of our platform, we're compliant, and we have to be compliant with GDPR, with how we store the user's data, with how we hash the user's data that we have, so that not even ourselves would be able to access it or see it. And there are a lot of things that we're doing there. But of course, there are specialists within GDPR that we'd be working with to set these frameworks.
Great. So we interrupted your flow here. Continue.
Oh, yeah, no problem. So I was just about to introduce the team. We are very proud to be working with some of the most talented, some of the most amazing people in our team. Of course, myself and Danny, you guys know now. Joao is our product architect. Joachim is our full stack and backend developer. Stephanie is our front end, and Anton is the UI and UX designer who made the designs of the app that I showed you earlier. And of course, we have an amazing advisory board that is working with us very closely throughout every step of our journey, and are always there to give us advice, to support us. And their backgrounds are varied and different based on the needs that we wanted to have, the competencies that we wanted to add in our advisory board. It's an amazing team that I'm proud and humbled to be working alongside every single day. And yeah, real talk, COVID-19. Of course, we all know that Corona have hit the travel industry very hard. It's the industry that have been hit the most. And this is, of course, this is undeniable. We all know about this. So we get questions about this. How does COVID affect you, actually? And it affects us in both positive and negative ways. Now, of course, all of us knows that travel will eventually pick up. And everybody's estimating that travel, it will take time. It will take time until 2022, which are the current estimations, for travel to get back to similar levels of how it was pre-corona. And this is the negative part of it that we cannot avoid. But surprisingly, COVID introduced opportunities. It introduced a positive side as well that we were not expecting. The first one is the travelers will need extra cash more than ever after this pandemic and after what's happening, especially when they're traveling. So they'll be able to use Flype to get compensation on their travels. And actually, here in Europe, travel costs are much lower in comparison to the US. So for example, when I fly from Stockholm to Paris, a one-way flight is $100, including checked-in bag. Now, this is not cheap. Like, this is fair. This is something somewhere in the middle. By only delivering 5 parcels, I'd pay off that entire cost. In our test, we had one student. She was from Finland. She lived in Stockholm, and she takes the ferry, every month to visit her family. And the ferry is quite cheap from Stockholm to Helsinki. It's like $10, something like that. She delivered with her 12 parcels. And when she got back, she called us. She's like, guys, this was amazing. From this one trip that I make every single month, I made as much as I do from my part-time job. Do you have more parcels that I can deliver? So this is something that travelers will want to use the service more than they did before. That's what we think. And the pandemic has made it much easier for us to reach and to secure deals with booking sites and huge airlines that initially, as a tiny startup, without a product, it would have been difficult to reach and to secure such exclusive deals with them. I think the reason here is quite obvious. If you, as a booking site or an airline, can offer 50% out of a ticket to your customers without actually reducing your revenues, you're going to benefit immensely. Many more people will be booking with you. You will increase your revenues much quickly. And all airlines and booking sites are now looking at how can we increase the slope of this curve. How can we get people back to travel more quickly? This is one way. And the third and last part that I want to mention here is that retailers are shifting their focus to online. For instance, this pandemic has, one example is that because of the pandemic, H&M's online revenues spiked by a 25% margin, 25% increase from the pre-pandemic days. And this shift, this new trend will continue at a larger speed after the pandemic. And this would be something that, of course, Flype would benefit from. So basically, this is the ask where we will be looking for this year round, raising $500,000 in return for equity. This will help us later run the platform, run the public beta that we're now building and expecting to be ready for release by the end of September. And before the end of this year, have between 6,000 to 8,000 registered Flypers that are actually traveling with Flype and delivering parcels with Flype. So of course, the future is express, the future is decentralized, and the future is now. Join us to help retailers retain their customers and save them from this retail apocalypse. And thank you very much. This is the presentation.
Thank you for that. Some of you may have missed at the beginning, just full disclosure, I have a financial interest and emotional interest in the success of Flype, just to be super clear. I generally have 2 or 3 webinars a week and luncheons, as you know, with people presenting, and not often an equity holder in them, simply because I don't have endless amounts of money, but more often than not, don't have a vested interest in the success of the company in so much as being an owner and investor, and in this case I do. So I just wanted to be super clear again in closing, as some of you obviously weren't on the call at the beginning. So that was awesome. Thank you. Have you thought about doing this in places where there is frequent travel, a route that people travel regularly, and just do it exclusively on that route as a way to ramp it up?
Sure.
I know Europe's different than the US, so I'm thinking like in the US, people fly from DC to Boston or New York to Florida, and you wouldn't have to do it everywhere. You could just do it on that route, and when somebody was buying something and there was a delivery to Florida or New York, then that would be the choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is how we're going to start, because of course we cannot start everywhere. We cannot start global from day one. We're going to start with one destination and then expand to more destinations gradually after that. And so one of the first destinations that we're looking at today in the Nordics is, for example, Stockholm, Helsinki, or Stockholm, Copenhagen, where we have tens of flights every single day from these just between these two cities, Stockholm, Helsinki, Helsinki, Stockholm, or Stockholm, Copenhagen, Copenhagen, Stockholm. So we'll be focusing on that initially for sure, and from that expand gradually and strategically based on these statistics.
Yeah, I know you talked about it earlier, and we did too. But for the benefit of the group, one of the challenges in having an app-based logistics development project is the team. So talk about how you've solved that in getting the engineers and the developers and everything to get this thing built so you can launch by September.
Yeah, so we're a tech company. We own no trucks, we own no warehouses, we own an app, and in the end we're a tech company. And in tech companies, the team is one of the most vital parts, if not the most vital one. I am happy and proud to be working alongside a brilliant mind such as Danny's, who is leading our development team. I don't know if you mentioned this, Danny, but Danny is a brilliant developer. He's been developing since he was a kid. So Danny's the CTO of the company. We are also happy and proud to work alongside a development agency in Stockholm that is called Hedi. They have some of the top talents in the country for sure. And we have been working a lot alongside them for some time now. Where the development team is much more than capable in the things that we're building today. And the founders of the company have a deep background within the retail industry and great connections within the industry as well. So when finding these talents, when building our team, we set great focus on the people that we bring on board, especially at this initial stage, because the people that you bring on board at such an initial stage can make or break companies. So this is one part that we put a lot of emphasis on. And we're happy to work alongside amazing people every single day who are excelling at what they're doing.
Excellent. So folks, we're going to give Danny and Joseph the information of your contact information, and they'll be in direct contact with you if you care to discuss more. And if there's anybody in your orbit or you care to share this with that is interested in this round, please feel free to introduce them to Joseph and Danny. And we're going to be, this has been recorded, again, full disclosure, and we're going to put it on the Family Office Insights YouTube channel where you can share it with others. And we welcome you connecting directly with Flype and discussing what. So we have a question naturally about the value. What's the valuation on the raise? Since you're raising equity as opposed to debt, have you targeted a valuation or have a range?
So today we've raised. I have another question. Yeah, so today we've raised capital based on stock options, where these stock options have a cap of $3 million. That's what we've done today. But regarding the raise, the cap is the valuation has not been set to stone yet. It's something that we'd love to come to an agreement with the investors, with the shareholders. And it's not the most important part that we focus on. The most important part is, of course, the investors that we will bring on board, the value that we're bringing on the company. We're looking for investors who will be adding not just equity, not just capital to the company, but value as well. This is the most important part for us. And of course, that you share our vision of Flype, and you are fully comfortable with this investment. And we're happy to discuss, of course.
We have another question from Jackie. Where does Flype source their flight tracking from, the airline or from the traveler? That is a question I hadn't thought of, and a very good one.
And that's a very good question indeed. Initially, the travelers, when the traveler goes in and registers their trip, that's when we get the information about that the traveler's going somewhere. And one important point that I want to point out here, it's not necessarily airlines, as this is what we initially understand, is that it's traveled via airlines, but the travel can be via airlines. It can be by car. A lot of people travel by car between different states, between different cities. It can be by ship, by train, so it's not necessarily airlines. But anyways, back to the question. Initially, it's going to be via the travelers registering their trip on Flype. Later, by doing integrations with airlines and booking sites, this is the trip registration on Flype is something that could be automated right when you book your tickets.
Yeah, Jackie, I think I know what you're getting at also, in that when I land in an airport and I order an Uber in advance, it asks for my flight number, as does the car rental agency, because they subscribe to some sort of clearinghouse data to find out when the flight is arriving, whether it's delayed. So they don't have to go fishing around for that data. It automatically pops up. So there's got to be some sort of API, or I'm getting the words wrong, but you get my point. That sort of thing. Yeah. OAG has all the flight data. It's expensive. Okay, so there's the answer. So we're running up against time here. Thank you, everybody, for joining in and sharing the only thing that you don't have more of, and that's your time. I really appreciate it. And you guys, good to see you again from afar. And
good to see you.
Glad to hear things are going so well. And we'll put you in direct contact with the folks that were on the call today, and really appreciate you being here and sharing your story with the community. We'll be recording this, and we'll hope to see you again and be in touch for sure. Until next time, everybody, thank you again, the Family Office Insights community. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.